As you may be aware by now, the Gender Ministry assumed oversight responsibility for the National School Feeding Program. It's a program that has had its own challenges. Well, the local government ministry used to be responsible for this program, but a communique from the Office of the Chief of Staff last month indicated the switch in sectoral responsibility. So, Gender Minister Nana Oye-Letha has been speaking to Joy News' editor, Jifa Bampo, about the new addition to her ministry and how her outfit intends to run this particular program, which has over the years been fraught with challenges of payments. Let's take a watch at that conversation between Nana Oye-Letha and Jifa Bampo.
Last month, the presidency directed that the Gender Ministry take over oversight responsibilities for the school feeding program. The school feeding program has been in existence for over 5 years. Well, we are here with the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection to discuss issues relating to the school feeding program and what will change now that it comes under the Gender Ministry. Good afternoon to you, Mrs. Oye-Letha. Thank you for speaking to us.
Good afternoon, Jifa.
Now, we are getting knowledge that the presidency has directed that the school feeding program come under your ministry. Why this directive from the local government ministry to the gender ministry?
Yeah, thank you very much. In 2012, there was a rationalization program or research of all social protection interventions. Subsequent to that, we've had a prioritization of which social protection interventions are effectively working in Ghana to address poverty, to reduce poverty, and to narrow the inequality gap. LEAP, that is a cash transfer, and then the school feeding program, and then the National Health Insurance Exempt program have been identified as some of the social protection programs that are actually having a positive impact on reducing poverty. There was therefore a need to coordinate these programs more closely, and the presidency and government realized that it would be better if the school feeding program was transferred to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, basically because of our new mandate in terms of social protection. So that was what occasioned the transfer from local governments to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection.
Now, we're looking through a statement coming from your ministry, and one of the things you're seeking to do is to restructure the program. Why?
The program ought to be restructured because we have realized that there are some irregularities.
When you say irregularities, what do you mean?
Presently, IOCO has been commissioned to conduct an investigation. We have situations where we have over-enrollment, an inflation of the numbers of students who are being fed. For instance, if you have a school with 200 on roll, the figure that you get for payment is 400. So there are certain irregularities with the way the program is being run. And after a number of years of running the program, there is a need to do an impact assessment to evaluate the program and to make sure that we are actually on track in terms of realizing our objectives of feeding the children and also of ensuring that we use locally produced products to enhance our economy, our agricultural economy. So this is where we are now, and this is why there's a need for us to restructure the program.
How long will the restructuring take?
Presently, we're looking at first a rapid audit assessment to be able to pay outstanding debts due to the caterers, that is for second and third term. Then we'll have a comprehensive financial and a program audit, comprehensive audit of performance and then also of financial. That would take 6 months. Now, this comprehensive audit and assessment will enable us take the necessary steps or make the necessary interventions and the necessary changes to bring the restructure to sort of completion. So we're really waiting for that to come on. It will start next year and then afterwards. So it may take about a year restructure.
So while the restructuring is going on, then what happens to the program? Does it continue as it is? Will caterers be cooking? Will you still be making payment for work done?
Caterers will be cooking. We have said, and if you read from the notice, that contracts will be valid till the end of the year. Then we're going to review the whole contract program, that is the caterers.
So you plan to review contracts as well?
We will review the contracts. Then also we're looking at even the menu for the students. We are also looking at electronic payment to make the payment faster and to make it easier and to ensure that the caterers are paid on time. We are transitioning to electronic payment. We are even looking at verification of who ate at what time and how many students ate using electronic means. So that is where we're going to. We believe that that will enhance the efficiency of the program.
But why do you want to review the contracts?
We want to review the contract because we want value for money.
Is it that you're not getting value for money now?
We can get better value for money. We want to ensure that every contractor has certain terms and conditions, that we know every contractor, we know when the contracts expire, we know which contracts are valid, basically having a database of the contractors so that we can work more effectively and efficiently.
It's interesting you raise this because one of my colleagues, Kwete Nate, conducted investigations into activities of the school feeding program in Afram Plains South, and he found out that, one, some of those who'd been awarded the contracts were party sympathizers. Two, some of them collected money but did not cook. And then there were instances where there was inflation of amounts also collected. What are you going to do about stuff such as this?
The key issue is that IOCO is conducting an investigation, and we're looking forward to the report, and we will implement. If we need to prosecute, we will prosecute. If there's a need for further investigations and for asking the Attorney General to look into the matter by way of prosecution, we will prosecute. Apart from that, we are also conducting this rapid audit assessment. Within the next week or two, we are going to commence, so that whenever the school feeding program is paying, we are sure we are paying the contractors who have valid contracts and who have actually worked for the number of days and have actually fed the number of students that they say that they have fed.
So are you going to stop awarding contracts to party sympathizers? Because that's one of the major criticisms I know of the program. Even under the Kufuor administration, there were allegations that contracts were awarded to party faithful. Is that something that you're going to look at?
We are going to look at the whole program. We want to ensure that the students receive that one hot, nutritious meal. Whatever it takes to ensure that this objective is realized, we will. I don't want to preempt what IOCO is doing because, like I said, IOCO is doing a full-scale investigation. So after that full-scale investigation and after the comprehensive audit, we will see the way forward. But definitely, it is not going to be business as usual. And that is why we have issued a press release that we've halted procurement. All procurement should be under the approval of the ministry. And any school feeding official who unilaterally, without going through due process, procures or effects any supplies will be personally liable for that. I've made that very clear. I had a meeting with the officers and management 3 weeks ago, and we made that very clear.
Now, in talking about the instructions you've given to officers of the school feeding program, this had been coordinated at the local level by the local assemblies, which come under the Ministry for Local Government. These local assemblies don't answer to you at the Gender Ministry. So how are you going to coordinate the program? How will it work now? And I know that you don't have the army or capacity of people to coordinate it at the district level if you were to take it from the assemblies.
Yes, it will remain as is. This program belongs to the local government in terms of our decentralization policy and in terms of implementing. So the Ministry of Local Government and all the the district assemblies are still very critical and very strategic and are partners in ensuring effective implementation of the school feeding program. We are looking at the headquarters and looking at the program at the top level and strengthening coordination and ensuring that we put in systems that will enhance efficiency, that will enhance transparency, and that will make sure that there's enhanced accountability. I think these are the three cardinal principles that we are injecting into the school feeding program. So the local government will still have a role to play, very much like how they have a role to play with the LEAP. So in terms of targeting, in terms of paying, local government is in control for LEAP. But then we at the headquarters level, at the department and at the ministry, coordinate and ensure that there is effective implementation. So it will very much be the same, but we will strengthen accountability and will strengthen monitoring of the process. My assessment is that monitoring would need to be upscaled so that, like I said, we have value for money and the children are fed nutritious meals.
Now, you talk about the fact that over the period of restructuring, caterers will still be cooking. You've talked about the fact that contracts will be reviewed and then procurements are also to be stopped. So what will be the process over the next, say, 6 months? Are you going to invite bids by new caterers? Because then those who are already cooking, the caterers who are already on stream, may also feel threatened. How are you going to deal with all of that?
We are not going to invite bids. This will happen. We are going to review the contract, look at the document itself, and look at how we can strengthen. In fact, SNV is assisting and supporting the government in that regard. So we've had meetings over the past 2 weeks.
But have you met the caterers?
I'm meeting them tomorrow. I'm meeting...
You're meeting them on Monday?
Yes, I'm meeting them on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, and we're going to discuss all this and also the new arrangements and how we're going to pay for the outstanding debts for second and third term. So 2 caterers each are coming from the regions, and we're having a meeting tomorrow. So we will discuss this. Let me assure the caterers that, yes, definitely, they also agree with me that we need to look at their contracts, because sometimes caterers are paid and their contracts have been abrogated. But at the headquarters and at the program level, the school feeding program is not even aware that the contract has been abrogated by the local government assembly at that local level, and this is something that ought to be corrected. So these are the issues that we will be looking at to strengthen and to make sure that we are paying caterers who are on roll and who have valid contracts, and that the obligations and responsibilities of the caterers are clearly spelled out in the contracts that will be executed.
Now, the opposition NPP has made reference to a lot of these social interventions because a lot of it came during their time, and they accuse the current government of not doing enough to ensure that these social interventions are working properly. The school feeding program has been bedeviled with lots of challenges. We know that other programs such as the capitation grant, well, LEAP has seen a resurgence, I must say, but there have been these criticisms. How do you respond to them? Because there's always the issue of money.
I don't know what scripts the NPP are looking at and reading. They are definitely reading a different script, because under this NDC government, social protection has been strengthened. I'll take LEAP. When they started in 2007, they piloted 1,640 beneficiaries. Under NDC, we are looking at 150,000 beneficiaries. For the first time in the history of Ghana, we are adding on 50,000 beneficiary households. That is 200,000 Ghanaians who will be positively affected by LEAP. No government has ever done this. We get to the labor-intensive public works by the local government. This is also grown from strength to strength and targets and provides employment for rural folk during the lean season when there's not much farming. They construct roads, they do boreholes and what have you. We've actually now come up with a social protection policy, and we are coming up with a social protection law. Even more importantly, this NDC government has put in place a targeting unit, a whole directorate and a whole database of extremely poor people, so that now we can use scientific objective means of determining who is poor in Ghana. No government has ever done that. People have used political criteria, ethnic and other criteria. This government has taken the bull by the horns, and we have developed, or we are developing, a database. And so when you go to AMA, we can pull out and give you a list of people who are poor, and say that if you're coming to do any social protection or any intervention to positively affect poor people, these are the names, these are their households. So we've done a lot under this government to make sure that poor and vulnerable persons are catered for. For the very first time in our history, we've gone to the prisons and we are registering prisoners free of charge.
So who is paying for that? Because obviously someone needs to pay the premium.
The government is paying. Under national health, even under LEAP, we've registered all the witch camps, all the orphanages under the state are now under LEAP, all the leprosariums under LEAP. No government, the MPP government, didn't do that.
Okay, so tell us a bit more about the prisons, what you've done there. Yes. I saw that in the eastern region.
Yes, in the eastern region, Koforidua prisons, together with the prison service and also National Health Insurance Authority, we have registered prisoners free of charge on national health. On Friday, last Friday, we were at Nsawam prisons. We registered 1,000 prisoners free of charge on the National Health Insurance.
And you are moving to...
And we're moving...
Is this for all the prisons?
It's for all the prisons. And we're making sure that the clinics in the prisons are also accredited under national health, so that the prisoner, despite being incarcerated and in custody, can have access to quality medical health care. No government has done this.
But you and I know that there are outstanding debt issues with the National Health Insurance scheme. We know that many people say they are unable to actually access the quality health care they desire because facilities say they are not being paid, and hence they're gradually moving back to cash and carry. What's the guarantee that all these people you're putting on the scheme will actually get the health care they are hoping for?
Notwithstanding all that is said, we know that the National Health Insurance is one of the best social protection interventions in Africa and has been very successful. There may be some challenges, but the good thing is that these challenges are being addressed progressively. And we can assure, this government can assure Ghanaians that the vulnerable people being put on national health insurance will receive quality health services. They will.
Now let's move away from some of these other issues. The district assembly elections just ended. I know that about 2,500 women took part at both the unit committee and the local level elections, but still not as much as half of them even made it through. How does that make you feel as gender minister?
I'm quite sad because we made a conscious effort. We put out adverts. I'm not surprised because it's basically the political system that we ran. So we're not going to get a dramatic increase in numbers. That's why we are introducing our affirmative action. And we now have the bill, and will be sent to cabinet pretty shortly. Then we can have 40% quota for district assemblies.
But you know that we have lots of opportunities at the legislative level, but a lot of it doesn't go down to the grassroots. That is always the critical point. Really, will an affirmative action bill make the difference for bringing more women into governance or into politics?
An affirmative action bill will make a world of difference for ensuring that we get that critical mass of children, of women. And we are doing affirmative action not only for women, but for persons with disabilities. So for the presidential nominees for district assemblies, we're going to have 1 or 2 being persons with disabilities who will be nominated to serve as the presidential nominees on district assemblies, and this will be rolled out throughout the country. So these are some of the interventions that this government is making to ensure that the underrepresented within our governance circles, that is at the local level and also at the national level, are catered for. For the affirmative action, it will roll out for the judiciary, for the security services, for public services, and then even for political parties.
But at the district assembly election or at the local level, do you anticipate that things will change anytime soon from what we already have?
We have to work at it. I believe that we can change it progressively. It needs a lot of sensitization. We need to bring the men on board for them to feel that, yes, this is about partnership, and this is about equitable representation and getting the other sex to also help in development of our country. So I believe that it will change. I mean, it has changed from about 10 years when you and I started this business. So I believe it will change, but we need to sustain, we need to sustain the advocacy and just push and push and push.
Now, when it comes to issues relating to women, one of the key issues was in the Millennium Development Goals about achieving gender parity. We've come 15 years down the road and there's a movement towards the Sustainable Development Goals. I know you'll be going to New York as the review is being done and as governments seek to endorse the 17 SDGs. Ghana didn't meet the gender parity. What are you going to be telling the United Nations about that?
What I will tell the UN about that is that, yes, we didn't meet, but progressively we worked towards meeting, that we worked very hard at it, but unfortunately we did not meet, and we are committed to the SDGs, which has a lot of gender right across in terms of the goals. So yes, we are still committed, and also that we need the support. And basically that's what the message will be.
Are there any particular things that we need in order to achieve the gender parity? I know you've talked about affirmative action bill as one of the things you're doing, but are there some specific things that maybe the United Nations needs to look at in order to get these achieved?
Yeah. The affirmative action is very key. In addition, we need the socio-economic empowerment. We need to look at how we can critically empower women economically to make sure that they have the wherewithal to turn themselves around in terms of work and in terms of the resources. And we also need to look at literacy. We have achieved gender parity as far as education is concerned. That is very good. But we still need to work at the tertiary level, and we still need to work on the employment rates. In the tourism sector, in the service industry, we are not doing very badly. But like in banking, in the financial and all that, we are not doing well at all. So we need to look at employment and gender parity in employment. We need to look at more women in the tertiary institutions. We need to really work on that. But we have done, I think we're one of the top 5 countries globally as far as gender parity in education is concerned. And in fact, our Minister of Education has been celebrated globally on that remarkable achievement.
Well, it's a political season in the NDC. Many people have been going to pick their forms. What about you?
Not for me.
You're not interested in contesting as a member of parliament at all?
I'm interested in contesting, but not this time.
That's very interesting. And is this interest in the Greater Accra region or the Eastern region, where I know you also have some roots?
Actually, I'm spoiled for choice. Not only, it could be Greater Accra, it could be Eastern, it could be Western region. It could be Shama, it could be Ododiodio, it could be Nungwa, Krowo, or even Ekropong. So I'm actually spoiled for choice.
But you're not going to be picking forms before the nomination ends next week?
Well, let's see how it goes.
So does that mean that maybe you'll be picking forms?
We'll see how it goes.
Which constituency can we look at?
Watch the space.
All right. Thank you very much. And Nana Oyelitha is the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection.